Hello and welcome to Arnie's Short Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. Phantom Bells of Arreton. The first time Holly Arnold heard the bells, she thought it was a trick of the wind. Midnight had just crept across the Isle of Wight, and she was alone on country road leading to Arreton. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and distant sea spray, but the sound that drifted through the night was unmistakable, deep, sorrowful bells tolling from the direction of St. George's Church. Yet the church had been silent for centuries. Its bell tower stood empty, its ropes rotted away. The villagers whispered of the phantom bells, how they called forth the spirits of those who had died in tragedy, murdered, betrayed, lost to the cruel hands of fate. And tonight Holly heard them clearly. She shivered as the final chime faded into the blackened sky, its resonance lingering in her bones. It wasn't just a sound, it was a summons. The stories had fascinated her since childhood. As a historian and paranormal researcher, she had spent years documenting hauntings across the island, but this was something different. The phantom bells of Arreton were legend, yet no one had ever solved their mystery. No one had ever dared. A cold gust slithered through the trees, making the branches creak like old bones. The moon, nearly full, cast eerie shadows on the narrow road. Holly tightened her coat around her shoulders and took a determined step toward the church. The village was silent, the windows of the cottages dark, as if the people within were holding their breath, refusing to acknowledge the horrors outside. Her boots crunched on the frost-touched grass as she reached the lych gate, its wooden arch twisted with ivy and thyme. Beyond it, the graveyard stretched like a frozen sea, tombstones tilting at uneasy angles, their inscriptions worn by centuries of wind and sorrow. Mist coiled around them, whispering secrets Holly couldn't yet understand. The scent of damp moss and decayed leaves clung to the air, thick and suffocating. Then the first shadow moved. She froze, pulse hammering. A figure stood among the graves, its outline wavering like a mirage, its form wrapped in decay and moonlight. Another shape flickered into existence, then another, dozens of them, silent, waiting. A woman in a tattered white gown stepped forward, her face veiled in shadow. Holly knew who she was before the spectre even spoke. Mary Bright, the murdered girl of Arreton Manor. The legend said she had been thrown from a window by her own father, left to die among the cold stones of the courtyard. And now she stood before Holly, her spectral eyes hollow with centuries of grief. The bells tolled again, their unearthly knell vibrating through the earth itself. The spirits stood, their voices rising in a mournful chorus. Holly's breath came in short gasps as icy tendrils wrapped around her limbs, pulling her toward them, toward the graveyard secrets. She clutched the iron pendant around her neck, a charm of protection, given to her by an old woman in a vintner antique shop. It pulsed with warmth, a feeble barrier against the cold tide of the dead. Holly managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Mary lifted a spectral hand, pointing toward the ruined bell tower. "Let the bells summon us," she said. A rustling noise came from behind Holly. She turned sharply, but nothing was there, just shifting shadows and the rusted iron gate swaying in the wind. The pressure in the air thickened, and a faint whisper slithered past her ear, like a sigh escaping unseen lips. Holly followed the ghost's gesture, her gaze locking onto the darkened silhouette of the church. Something shifted in the bell tower, an absence of light, a deeper void in the shadows. The presence there was ancient, malevolent. She had to end this. Forcing her feet to move, she pushed forward, breaking through the mist and ascending the moss-covered steps into the church. The doors groaned in protest as she shoved them open, revealing the ruined interior, pews covered in dust, shattered stained-glass windows, and altar draped in cobwebs. And at the center of it all, the bells. Not just one, but three, suspended in the air despite the absence of ropes, their bronze faces gleaming with an otherworldly sheen. They pulsed with energy, vibrating in time with the moans of the spirits outside. A chill ran down her spine as she approached. A whisper slithered through the air, wrapping around her like a noose. "I'll leave." Holly gritted her teeth. She reached into her pocket, pulling free a vial of blessed salt. With a swift motion, she cast a line across the threshold, the grain shimmering in the dim light. The air crackled. The spirit shrieked. The bells rang louder, desperate now, as if they knew she was here to silence them forever. Ignoring the fear clawing at her throat, she reached up, placing her hand against the largest bell. The metal was ice cold, vibrating with trapped agony. Summoning every ounce of willpower, she whispered the words of the old exorcism rite she had memorized long ago. The church trembled. The spirits screamed, their wails rising to a deafening crescendo. The bells shuddered violently, their glow flickering, dimming until, with one final, ear-splitting toll, they shattered. The silence was absolute. Holly collapsed to her knees, gasping, the echoes of the bells still ringing in her skull. Outside, the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon, casting the graveyard in hues of soft gold and silver. She turned, her heart hammering. The spirits were gone. Mary Bright stood at the gate, her translucent form already fading. But before she disappeared completely, she met Holly's gaze and smiled a look of peace, of gratitude. Then she was gone, and the graveyard was still. Holly rose on unsteady legs, glancing back at the ruined church, at the broken bells that had haunted Arreton for centuries. The curse was broken, but as she stepped through the lit shade and back into the waking world, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had been watching her. And somewhere, deep in the shadows of the Isle of Wight, a whisper lingered. The bells may have been silenced, but the dead never forget. Then, on the wind, so faint it could have been imagined a single, distant chime. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.